Hey guys, it's time to update my closet unhaul situation. So we will get to the reaction of next month in just a second, but first I will tell you what happened last month. So I had all of these books that I had to read or get rid of, and I'm allowed one save. If I didn't read something, I'm allowed to keep it. So the books that I read from my closet unhaul, I read Twilight. Twilight. I did it. I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars. I feel so accomplished. And I get to keep it now. Like, you guys told me that if I read the first one, I could keep the rest. And a lot of you were like, well, then you need to make a plan for when you're going to read the next ones, because you can't just like keep them all forever. And you're right. I get it. I gave it 2 stars. It was Twilight. I mean, the other book I read, of course, I told you guys I was going to read All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This I only gave 3 stars. I didn't love it as much as everyone else seems to, so that was kind of a bummer. So my closet unhaul, I didn't find any like new favorites, so that's kind of disappointing. Maybe next month. And the books I didn't read, I was supposed to read A Desirable Residence. I didn't. I had The Complete Fables, which I don't really care to get rid of. I was fine with getting rid of that. And The Girl's Guide to Hunting and Fishing, I was fine with getting rid of that. So now I am. So those will be donated. I am using my save, and I'm using it on Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. One of you guys in the comments said that I should be allowed to keep this if I read Pride and Prejudice, which was such a good point, because I don't want to read this until I read Pride and Prejudice, but I didn't want to read Pride and Prejudice like right away. So I'm using my save. But also, I don't want to read Pride and Prejudice and this in the same month. So even if I had read Pride and Prejudice, I wouldn't have read this right away. So this is my save, but under the contingency that I read Pride and Prejudice in May, then I will be allowed to keep this. And the same should go for Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters, but I don't know where that is. So I'm not counting that because I don't even have it in my possession. I have no idea where it went. So I'm keeping those 3, as well as the rest of the Twilight series. And I'm getting rid of these 3. Oh, and I've decided to create a goal. So I'm now doing this little like charting system so I can keep track of everything that happened in the videos, and then everything that happened in the month of like what I read and didn't read and how many books I unhauled. So I did a little inventory, like I backtracked on my videos, and at the very beginning of this whole series, I had 250 books on my TBR. So including my closet and my TBR shelf, 250 books. By the end of the year, I want to have 200 books on my TBR. So that can be a mix of ones that I'm getting rid of, books that are moving from my TBR to my red shelf, and then at the end of the year, I'll probably do another unhaul of books that didn't show up in any like of these haul videos, but that I just like want to get rid of. So I have to knock down 50 books in the year. From 250 to 200 is my goal for this whole unhaul situation. Okay, let's move on to the reaction for next month. All right, let's do this reaction, or figure out my TBR for the month. I'm watching my May 2015 book haul, and I have to read all of these books, if I haven't already, in May 2017. This stack doesn't look too intimidating to me. I get this moment every single time I do this where I'm just like, I'm nervous for just a second, but I think we'll be okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Play. Hey guys, I know you can't see me, but I have a haul to show you today. There's 18 books in it, and here they are. So I bought 18 books. Physical books. Not really any of them are new releases. They're all thrift store buys, because I got a lot on my Kobo this month, and pretty much all of the new releases I wanted to read, I got on here. So while not as exciting, I am going to do an ebook haul, as well as just a regular haul. Forgot that I had ever done an ebook haul. That's weird. The first book I got was The Knife That Never Let Me Go by Patrick Ness. I have wanted to read a Patrick Ness book for a while. I've read one of his books before, and I wanted to check something else out. So this is book 1 of the Chaos Walking series. I'm not sure how many books are in it. There are 3. I have read the first one now, so yes, I have read that. Tally it up top. I didn't like it though. Next, we've got The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. I have one other book by him, Middlesex, that I haven't read yet, but I saw this and had to pick it up. I have seen the movie many times, but I watched it when I was really young for the first time, having no idea that it was a book. So I'm really excited to read the book. And I have since read, actually, well, I've read that and I unhauled that edition. I have an edition I like a lot more than that. Next up, we've got Losing It by Cora Cormack. Carmack. And this is a new adult book. I read this month, well, like half of it. Alright, so you already know I have read that one. I don't think I finished it. Did I? I didn't like it, I know that. The next book I got from the thrift store is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. I did read that. It took me, I think, 3 different sittings, like over 3 different months to actually get through it. I don't know why I was struggling with it. But so far, I have no TBR books. And I've gone through 4 so far. So I feel really encouraged because an entire thrift store haul could, like, that could just be books that I picked up on a total whim and had no interest in actually reading. Like, I think it's going well. Next is another movie I have seen but a book I haven't read. This is so unlike me, but this is How I Live Now by Meg Rosoff. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know if I've read that. The movie was really interesting. I didn't intend on watching it before the book, but it just popped up on, like, I don't know what it was, Netflix or one of those things, and I just ended up watching it. I think I skimmed that. I don't even know if I have it on read on Goodreads, but I know it's not in here. I think I've like skimmed through that book. So that's another read one, more or less. And it was really interesting. Apparently the movie is quite different from the book, so I'm excited to experience this. Oh yeah! The movie is different from the book. I do remember certain things. I definitely have read through that. And now I'm holding this book that I haven't read. Next up, we've got City of Thieves by David is this Benoit? No. I don't totally know what this is about, but I know that it's set during war times in Russia. Well, that's the first book on my to be read for May. Now to find it. I have more or less organized, yeah, right there. I was just gonna say, I've more or less organized this closet into like adult, chick lit, humor, thriller, fantasy, and then young adult on the 2 upper shelves, and that's separated by fantasy or sci-fi or something, and then I have a contemporary shelf. But anyway, City of Thieves is relatively short, 250 pages. I feel like I can knock this out. Next, we've got Dark Places by Gillian Flynn, which I have owned, but I owned 2 different covers before I finally found this, and I wanted it so I could have like the matching covers of Sharp Objects and Dark Places. Obviously, I've read that. Gillian Flynn is like one of my favorite authors. So next up, we've got Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. I've heard a lot about this book. Don't really know what it's about. Okay. Okay, I haven't read that. I actually do just, okay, hold on. I'll get it. Okay, so I do have this one. However, I have another copy of it. So I prefer this one. I purchased this one after this one, and so I'm okay with getting rid of this. However, I am pretty sure that it was very soon after this haul that I purchased this one. So I'm going to put this book on my TBR for the month, but if I don't read it, all I have to do is unhaul this, which I was planning on doing anyway, because as I was organizing this closet, I came across a couple books that I want to unhaul, but I figured it would be more interesting if I waited to see if they popped up in a video so I could like share with you the unhaul. Anyway, so that's 2 books on my TBR so far. Then I've got It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini, and this, all I know about this is it deals with mental illness, and that is right here in my funny section. I think this is funny. A book about depression that's not the least bit depressing. Okay, I may change my mind about 24-Hour Bookstore being on my TBR for the month if we continue in this direction. The next book I bought, actually this was the first book I bought in May. This is Black Iris by Leah Rader. I started reading the ebook and then I had to go out and purchase the physical copy because it was just so magnificent. This is a new adult. I loved it. But it's a little different than your typical new adult because it's very sinister feeling. It's real good. I will talk about it more in my wrap-up that you will see tomorrow. Next is The Great Gatsby and Other Stories by, of course, F. Scott Fitzgerald. We all know. I've read The Great Gatsby, and I've read 2, I don't remember what their names, but I know I've read 2 other stories by him. I don't know how many stories are in that book. So, I mean, I don't know where to categorize that. I'm going to categorize it as read, but if there's a story in there, I'll go look, and if there's a story, I'll read that, like, one story. I actually got another Patrick Ness book. This is More Than This, and I don't know a ton about this. I want to go into it blind. Okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. We're chill. Today is no drama. This is weird because, okay, I'm going to go into a backstory you don't care about. But I'm taking part in Book Buddy-a-thon this month. I'm doing it with 3 people, and so there's 4 of us, and we're trying to find a buddy read that we all have on our TBR. And so me, being neurotic me, I made like a spreadsheet and went through all of our TBR shelves on Goodreads and found the books that we like all had. And it was either 3 or 4 of us that had More Than This, and there was only one other book that had all 4 of us who wanted to read it. But we didn't even get to that portion of the conversation because among our conversation about like other challenges we were meeting, we found like this short 100-page book from an author that we all love, and we all decided to read that. So my spreadsheet was totally pointless, but this is the book that I really, like, I would have wanted to buddy read. So I was planning on reading this in May, and then it went off the tracks. So weird. Maybe I'll still end up reading this. I really don't want to get rid of this, but it's like 500 pages. Next thrift store find was probably my favorite thing that I found, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I really had no intention of reading this. I don't know why that's weird. That's just, oh, it's so weird watching myself when I first had experienced The Raven Boys, because that's like my favorite thing of all time. So obviously that's another tally on the red pile. Next I got New Moon by Stephanie Meyer, because if you watched my last haul, you know I went to a thrift store that had a bag of books for $1, and I ended up just throwing all the Twilight books in there because I was like, it's $1 for an entire bag of books, and I don't want to read it. But I was like, I might as well own the Twilight series. But okay, here's New Moon on my May TBR. Shit. Next is the only, besides Black Iris, the only other book I bought brand new this month, and it is Solitaire. I just picked it up. I'm so excited to read this, and I have since read it, and it was just okay. Next, from the thrift store, I grabbed Sidelines, a new Canadian poetics edited by Rob McClellan. That was the worst. That was the worst poetry collection in history. Oh my god, that was terrible. I've most definitely read and unhauled that. Oh no. Avant-garde, and this the next book. Shirt, but it shoot. Next up, I grabbed The Rosie Effect, which is the second book, the companion to The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. I'll just grab this from my shelf because I saw that it was lying on the desk. I don't want to read this, but I don't want to get rid of it because it's just so aesthetically pleasing. Like, it looks so pretty. I love it as a duology together side by side. I love the color and the cover, and it feels good. It's like that rubber kind of texture. I'm not getting rid of this. So I either have to read it this month. This is 400 pages. Or this is my save. But that means none of these other books can be my save. Which, none of these I'm okay with unhauling. That realization just hit me. Usually I have a bunch of books that I'm like, yeah, I'll get rid of that. I don't care about that. I like all of these ones. Picking up the second one, but it was $1. It was $1? It's nice. Like, this is a relatively new book. Girl, keep it. So I think I'm going to read it eventually. And lastly, for physical books, I grabbed The Uncoupling by Meg Wolitzer. I don't know anything about this. I now have 2 Meg Wolitzer books that I know nothing about. And I've heard her name a lot. Is that the last one in this video? Okay. I don't know where that is. I don't remember seeing it yesterday, but I don't feel like I unhauled it. All right. I had it on my other shelf. This is such a pretty book. Oh, shoot. I don't want to get rid of any of these. Okay, so I think my stats were 9 books I have read from that haul, 2 books I unhauled, and 7 books I have to read. Okay, so we're definitely skipping this. Forget everything I said. I'm gonna unhaul this and I'm gonna wait until this pops up in a haul, which will be very soon. And this is my TBR for May. My TBR for May is already a lot because I'm doing a week-long readathon and I have an entire TBR for that. There's so many new releases I have coming out in May, and I haven't filmed my TBR for the month yet, but I think I have 4 or 5 arcs to read in May. This haul started out like I was feeling positive about it, and now I don't really know. Let me know what you think is gonna happen. Of these 6 books, I think I'm gonna save this one just because I like it. And I mean, I didn't read Twilight to not keep the series. Guys, but I want to keep the series! I said last month that if I read Twilight, I got to keep the whole series because I had hauled the whole series. Except for New Moon. So now I feel like I have to read New Moon. Ugh! What's happening? I still have to read these 4 books in order to keep them? I want to read all 4 of these books. Okay, this was the whole reason I started the unhauls, right? This is why I'm doing this. To get rid of my books. Or to read them. Tell me what you think is going to happen. Because all of these aren't going to get read. What am I going to do? Oh my god. Okay, well, let's chat down below about this predicament I have gotten myself into. Thank you very much for watching. Say bye to all these books.